This video is a little weird. I didn't think I'd be making it really, because I didn't think in a post ReMIND world, a post essentially Kingdom Hearts 3 Final Mix world, we'd be asking for more updates or more DLC, or I'd be seeing people asking for more updates and more DLC. And I want to kind of talk about if that is even possible. So let's get the DLC part out the way. I don't think that's going to happen. Straight up, I don't think that's going to happen. Kingdom Hearts 3 ReMIND was meant to be our final mix essentially to Kingdom Hearts 3. A lot of people thinking that a final mix is still coming, though ReMIND is a final mix, just not by title. Nomura actually talked about this in the Kingdom Hearts 3 Ultimania, where he essentially said that if Kingdom Hearts 3 came out with a final mix, it would essentially just be a package with the DLC. Probably wouldn't be anything crazy. Maybe we might get lucky and get like an extra update or two, but that update would more so be bug fixes or so on. But it likely wouldn't be giving us a lot of content. I don't even know what people could want more of out of a Kingdom Hearts DLC, because I can't really think of much. Like right now, I can't think of anything that I don't think they would just save for a future game. I will say this though, I do feel like with Melody of Memories that stuff could have been just Kingdom Hearts DLC. The Kairi story stuff could have been an extra episode of Kingdom Hearts 3, though I'm sure having her own game will probably give her the spotlight a lot more and might end up being a little bit more beneficial. So that's more of a reach than anything else. But I more so mean now on the story side of things. Maybe the story side of Melody of Memories, the Kairi backstory and stuff, could have been the DLC for KH3 or added on to the extra DLC for KH3, and the rhythm game stuff could have just been its own thing. But it seems like the rhythm game stuff is going to be pretty integral to the plot of the game, which is a very Nomura thing to do, so that's not likely to happen whatsoever, and it makes sense why it wouldn't, just based off of Kingdom Hearts history. I mean, Union Cross is like canon, and the mobile game mechanics of Union Cross are canon to the Kingdom Hearts universe. Kingdom Hearts 3, I will say though, does need some updates, because there are some things that I would still like to be fixed and tweaked about the combat a little bit to make it a little bit more fluid and just more fun, more replayable. For example, I'd say make level 1 damage a lot better for the base game, because base game level 1 damage is actually chip damage. I will admit though, with the new ReMIND abilities, if you go into the game on New Game Plus and have those abilities, you won't be doing as much chip damage as before. You actually do a decent bit of damage, but it's nothing significant enough, nothing satisfying enough to make a level 1 playthrough really too recommendable to anyone, because the workaround for level 1 playthroughs in KH3 is that you basically have to stack magic, use a lot of links, or just go out of your way for like crazy items so you can do like decent damage. Or it's basically camping a fight until you can get a situation command or a Keyblade transformation, which is what I normally do. I just like spam fire into a Keyblade transformation and then I play the game, which isn't as fun because I would like to use base Sora a little bit more, or feel a lot more confident using base Sora like during my mid-game playthroughs. I also know some people have been complaining about some options in all pro code run playthroughs. I haven't done one myself, so I can't speak too much about it, but I do know there's some complaints there, and that people doing all pro codes runs have kind of spotlighted some issues that are in the combat. Another thing that I was hoping would be fixed with ReMIND, but wasn't really fixed in KH3, was making Keyblade switching a lot faster. It's a little iffy whether or not Keyblade switching is intended to be a little slower so it's not super abusable, or if it's something they can't really control, or if it's a oversight in development. Because sometimes Keyblade switching can be pretty fast, usually when you use a move that's not that laggy, but if you're using something that even is like slightly a little bit more laggy, it might take years to switch Keyblades, and Sora will kind of be drifting in the air for like a second, what it seems, a long second, before he actually switches to the other weapon or form. It's a little annoying, and it definitely varies from Keyblade to Keyblade how good Keyblade switching can be, and I don't know if it's intended or if it's a oversight, but I would like Keyblade switching to just be faster all across the board, because it would allow me to use a lot more Keyblades that I don't use purposely because their moves are so laggy, or because it takes a long time to even like pull them out or do moves with them. And if Keyblade switching was just a little bit more responsive at times, then maybe I'd probably give some other Keyblades a chance, like Nano Arms for example, because I don't use that Keyblade like ever because it's really laggy. For DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3, the main thing I see people still talking about to this day that wasn't in ReMIND is a tournament mode, a Coliseum of sorts. And to be honest, this topic is worth its whole video by itself, and I might make one still, but I'm just going to talk about it now. People want a Coliseum for Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3 is one of the few mainline or major entries into the series that doesn't have any sort of tournament mode. The closest thing that's in comparison to a Coliseum is likely the end game in Keyblade Graveyard, which I wouldn't count, and the battle portals. But people want more of a tournament feel, something where there's constant progression in a room full of mobs, a couple of bosses here and there, some cool fights you wouldn't see normally in your playthrough, fighting some Final Fantasy characters like you did in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, some exclusive enemies, exclusive bosses, just everything that comes with the Coliseums. Kingdom Hearts 1 has one, Kingdom Hearts 2 has one, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep has a story tournament in Olympus Coliseum, but their tournament mode is more so Mirage Arena, which is honestly better than Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2's Coliseums debatably because of how much content that Mirage Arena has. And it's a lot of content, and you can get a lot from it. It gives you a lot more benefits and a lot more, well, everything. Kingdom Hearts 3 is lacking some of that. The Kingdom Hearts 3 Coliseum could be very, very interesting, though I'm a little bit skeptical in it because, to be honest with you, I don't enjoy that many Coliseums in Kingdom Hearts games outside of Kingdom Hearts 1's. Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep's Coliseum is fun when it comes to bosses, but it's only a couple of bosses that I have fun with because most of the mob fights for both Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 2 are usually just magnet into thunder. No matter what difficulty or level you're really on, that's kind of just how it is. Kingdom Hearts 1, I like its Coliseum a lot because of how restricted Sora is in that game, how he doesn't have all these crazy Keyblade transformations or super flashy moves outside of the occasional R's or Strike Raid or Ragnarok, which takes up a lot of MP, because every fight feels like a straight up fight, and it actually feels like I have to interact with most of the enemies on screen. And yet you can still cheese your way through KH1 Coliseums by using things like gravity. Stop is pretty broken on some enemies, and things like thunder can even like get you through KH1 Coliseum, but it takes a lot more work than grouping up an enemy through a move that's meant to group up enemies in magnet and then just thunder spamming your way to the next boss. Or you have to be an extremely high level, which grinding in KH1 is not the greatest compared to other games due to its lack of options, but Coliseums in KH1 just feels more like a straight up fight. Kingdom Hearts 3, I feel like I'm a little skeptical because I feel like it would have a very similar issue, which is why I'm not super crazy about a Coliseum. I'd love it. I would definitely take it. If they announced one as some exclusive bosses, I would totally do it. Love it, cherish it, probably play it a lot, but it's not something I'm like actively like wanting, you know, because I feel like Kingdom Hearts 3, more so than even Kingdom Hearts 2, more so than Birth by Sleep, more so than any Kingdom Hearts game previous, has probably the most broken AoE options. Maybe if they added a Coliseum where there was a restriction every time, which at that point, if you're going to restrict Sora to make a good Coliseum, you might as well not even do it. I just feel like you'd run into a similar issue, but potentially even way worse. The only time I even have any remote trouble in mob fights is if I'm doing a level 1 playthrough in Kingdom Hearts 3. And to be honest, that's only with nobodies or obnoxious enemies that don't stagger, like these Anchor Heartless in the Caribbean, or anything else that just doesn't stagger like instantly. Which, to be honest, like if they just filled up a room with a bunch of Anchor Heartless, I'd probably like would turn off the game. I mean, have you seen Battle Portal number 5? Battle Portal 5 is actually the worst mob fight I've ever played in Kingdom Hearts. It's nothing but a bunch of dinosaurs that are super hard to stagger with some crazy like full screen attacks on top of some tiny soldiers, and then the Gigas come in and you're just getting destroyed with lasers and missiles and stuff. It's just insane, like the amount of giant enemies in that fight that have giant HP bars that you also have to defeat. It almost feels like that fight is nearly impossible without links, or it's definitely like borderline impossible on level 1 unless you're just cheesing with like counter shield or some link or something. That fight is like atrocious, and if they just do stuff like that for a Coliseum in KH3 to make it challenging, I'm not about it. I feel like Kingdom Hearts 3 is like a special type of Kingdom Hearts game. It definitely broke the tradition in a lot of ways, in some bad ways, though they did include some things that honestly weren't really super needed. I mean, I feel like a lot of people want a Coliseum, probably just for name value alone. Coliseum would definitely be really cool, and I would definitely take it, assuming it's done right, and I would mostly be in it for like the bosses. That'd be the most interesting part. Like, what cool new bosses could they add? Can I fight Hades in this new Coliseum? Can I fight, I don't know, a Final Fantasy character? Maybe a Sephiroth finally? Like, things like that would be really cool, and I would look forward to a Coliseum for bosses and things like that. But for the bulk of it, if the bulk of it is just annoying mob fights, or mob fights that I can literally just AoE magic spam, or AoE Simba spam or something, like I just don't want a part of it. I just don't think it would need to happen. Kingdom Hearts 3 is likely finished. I don't think Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to get any more patches, not anytime soon at least. I think it's possible, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I think Nomura has made it pretty clear that he wants to get started on the next saga as soon as possible, and I think he's kind of proven that in a way with Dark Road and with things like Melody of Memories releasing this year already, and then we have more Union Cross updates coming as well. Nomura has made it pretty clear he wants to keep it moving, and he doesn't want to tread on past things for too long. So I think when he says ReMIND is the last thing, I think he means it. And I think our best chance for an update or any future DLC or content, free or not free, is one for PS5. Maybe they make a physical edition of Kingdom Hearts 3 that is called Kingdom Hearts 3 Final Mix with ReMIND. And it comes with an update, a cool little pin, collector's item, and your Coliseum. I think that's our best bet at getting anything new out of this game. But I feel like with ReMIND, this is the end of the Kingdom Hearts 3 era. I talked about this before in a video before ReMIND came out, but ReMIND signified the end of our journey with Kingdom Hearts 3. We're already moving on to new titles. We already technically have gotten a new title release since then. The Kingdom Hearts 3 era is done. It's over with. We're going to be moving on now. And that's pretty sad, but also pretty exciting. I'm pretty happy with the product we got with this game, and I was definitely surprised with ReMIND. My expectations were completely just like shattered with ReMIND. I loved every little bit of it, exceeded my expectations immensely, and I don't have any huge urge for any more DLC. I wouldn't mind a patch or two to some of the things I mentioned, like level 1 damage, Keyblade switching, and so on, but the game the way it is now is pretty fun. I mean, I play it like almost every day for crying out loud on stream, or whether it's by myself like at home. This game already has given me memories that I will definitely cherish for years, and I think it's about time we move on. But not until I see more Yozora.